The 2023 season is over. We're going to go through our top 5 plays for the Michigan Wolverines, plus 3 honorable mentions. Before we get to the show, I almost forgot, we are doing a live stream February 3rd to cover the Senior Bowl. Normally, we don't think a lot about the Senior Bowl, but there are no less than 7 Wolverines who are going to play it in that game and show off their skills to the NFL. We want to be there. We want to watch it. We want you to watch it with us.
And we are now on the road to 1,000 subscribers because we got the 500. Thank you so much for that. If you're looking for a way to support the channel, the best way to do that, like, comment, and most importantly, subscribe. Thank you so much to everyone who has. Let's get to it.
Good evening and welcome everybody to Michigan Chatter on the Big Ten Team Rivalry Show. I am Cliff, your host, and with me, as always, is Mac. Mac, how are you doing?
I'm good. It broke my heart to put a lot of these plays on the cutting room floor. I think I sent you 17 plays originally. There easily could have been 1,700. So
I don't know that they played that many, but yeah, there's a lot of great plays. All right, let's hit these plays. Play number 5 comes from the Indiana game late in the second quarter. Michigan is up 14-7, but remember, Indiana scored first at 2:17 into the first quarter. Michigan fights their way back to the lead, but Indiana's defense isn't making it easy. Here we are, 54 seconds left in the half. Mac, what happened?
JJ McCarthy is going to roll out to his left and pitch a dime to Donovan Edwards, who almost makes it into the end zone. Roll the tape. Almost there. He's in a little bit of trouble, and that's it. What a heads-up play by McCarthy to have the presence of mind to look for Donovan Edwards streaking across the middle of the field. And what's crazy is Indiana completely forgot about the Don. You can't forget about the Don. You can't leave the Don wide open like that. What are you doing?
There he is, wide open.
There isn't a Hoosier within 6 yards of him.
Yep.
And he almost makes it to the end zone. That would have done it right there. But man, so close.
So close. Fantastic play. Play number 4 jumps all the way to the end of the regular season to the Ohio State game, the game. This is Michigan's toughest game so far. Michigan's defense held Ohio State to a field goal, an interception, and a punt. Here we are, 10:29 left in the first half.
This has got to be one of JJ's best plays of the season. Dropping back, he's under pressure, but finds Roman Wilson he threads the needle like no other there. And I know you see Denzel Burke, the Ohio State, I believe he's a DB. Yeah, Ohio State's DB comes up holding the football. And this was very controversial for a little bit because everybody was like, "Oh my gosh, it's an interception! It's an interception!" Roman Wilson didn't have control of the ball going into through the catch. Thing was though is that he had control of the ball before he broke the plane, and then broke the plane and then lost the ball. As soon as he breaks the plane, it's a touchdown, guys. Sorry about you, but still a decent heads-up play by Burke. If that play had happened, even just 3 yards to the left there, that would have been an interception. So great play by Burke, just 3 yards too late. But Roman Wilson and JJ McCarthy, that was crazy from McCarthy because after the game, he said that he had been watching film and saw it was either Burke or the other guy. He saw that they have a tendency to turn their head whenever they start to get beat by a receiver in a specific circumstance. And as soon as he saw Burke turn his head, I'm pretty sure it was Burke he was referring to. As soon as he saw him turn his head, he went ahead and threw the ball, knowing that that's where he was going to be looking. If Burke doesn't turn his head, that's an interception right there. If the play happens 3 yards to the left, it's an interception there. This throw had to happen at just the right time. This is an NFL level throw, and this is why JJ McCarthy can be successful. Not guaranteeing anything, but can be very successful in the NFL.
Play number 3 is a little later in the Ohio State game. We are deep in the third quarter. The game is tied. Michigan started on their own 25. 6 plays later, they are on the Ohio State 22. And here we go.
This was also the play directly after Zach Zinner went out with the injury too. Got carted off. Look at that hole. Look at that hole. He busts right through it. Goodness gracious. Flashes I think the 6'5", right, for Zach Zinner. wow, what a team touchdown there.
Yep.
I mean, and it's interesting because I believe it was Carson Barnhart who was kind of struggling. He struggled a little bit against Penn State in pass protection, and then struggled a little bit against Maryland. Carson Barnhart, I believe it was him who made the key block that got Blake Corum into the end zone there. And that's why it's so important to have a good offensive line, and why it's so important to have a deep offensive line, but also just to be struggling in a certain way and then to come back after a major injury. I mean, Zach Zinner he was the leader. I mean, he is a leader on this team, and to lose him was just a major blow. And this team, I mean, everything was going against them after that, despite the fact that they were deep in Ohio State territory. They could have just gotten rattled. They could have fallen apart at this point. But no, Blake Corum breaks for a wide open touchdown there. And if you kind of notice in defensive coverage here, Ohio State keeps the safety back, but everybody else blitzes to the front. We saw Donovan Edwards score 2 touchdowns last season because Ohio State ran the same kind of thing. Admittedly, I don't know if it's the exact same type of defense, but when the play first begins, you're going to see Ohio State's, if you can go back to the beginning real quick, you can see Ohio State's DBs or linebackers right there at the second level just blitz the heck up to the ball, and Blake Corum just goes right around him for the touchdown. It's crazy how that happens. Yep, there it is. Look at him go. And then Blake Corum just goes right through him for the touchdown. Amazing play.
Play number 2. We are now at the Rose Bowl, the granddaddy of them all, against number 4 Alabama. This game has been a heart attack waiting to happen. First, Michigan has the lead, then Alabama. At the end of the fourth quarter, Michigan ties it up, and we are now in overtime. Michigan scored a touchdown, and all they have to do is
this. Man, I was freaking out watching this. I couldn't sit down. My palms were sweaty. Oh my goodness. Watching Milroe go down right there in real time, I didn't believe it.
It took a minute to register.
I know. Yeah, I couldn't even fathom that had happened. And it's interesting because, I mean, first off, rare props to ESPN for this moment here. The way that they were able to catch the emotions from the players and then get the handshake between Saban and Jim Harbaugh and the call by Chris Fowler. So credit where credit is due. Good job for that, for the production value there, ESPN. That's, fine. Good deal. But if you look at this play, Jalen Milroe, if he had actually gone to the left, he probably could have gotten in. So one of the blocks he was supposed to be following, he didn't. And the reason is because he had to go down to the ground to get the ball because the ball was snapped low. And it forced him to hesitate for a second. And you can see to the left, I believe there's a blocker that he is supposed to be following. I think it's to the left. And he should have if the timing had been right, but it wasn't. And, maybe Alabama's center could have done a better job, obviously. Yeah, so he was supposed to follow 77 there, and he didn't because he didn't have the time to. So Alabama center, he had a rough game. That sucks for him. I know he can bounce back. I believe he just transferred to Ohio State.
Yeah.
But this is all the credit in the world to Michigan's defensive line again because they were just terrorizing Alabama's offensive line all game long.
Before we get to the number 1 play, we're going to go over 2 honorable mentions. The first one comes from the Penn State game. Now remember, Harbaugh has been suspended. Sharon Moore is in the fight for his life. And here's what happened.
Cuts up. A 4th and 1 conversion for J.J. McCarthy. And at this point in the game, I think it was Penn State was starting to get a little bit of momentum. And, I mean, what can you say? I wanted to include this play in the top 5. Well, obviously, otherwise it wouldn't be an honorable mention because of that cut right there. I mean, just to stop on a dime and move upfield and get the first down on 4th and 1. I mean, this was huge. I mean, I understand Penn State's offense wasn't playing very well and Michigan was, doing very well on defense. But at this point, Penn State was within a score, it was midway through the third quarter. There was a chance for Penn State to, maybe go down and get a score and then maybe get a stop. And for McCarthy to convert this, with it being on fourth down, that is demoralizing to the Nittany Lion defense. McCarthy is now presenting himself as a viable threat in the running game, which means that they've got to worry about him now too. So those 32 straight runs to end the game, really Penn State had to account for the handoff to somebody or the keep. So they were basically having to play option defense for the rest of the game. And if you don't know who's going to have the ball, and also you can't do anything about Michigan's offensive line, run the ball 32 times, and it worked. I love how people gave Michigan a ton of crap for that, but it worked. Penn State had the nation's #1 running defense, and Michigan ran the ball to beat them.
There's no need to put the ball in the air if you can win on the ground.
I feel like that's a proverb from Bo, but
I think so.
Yeah, that seems right.
Honorable mention number 2, we are back at the Ohio State game. 30 seconds left in one of the most exciting games of the season. Ohio State is only down by 6. They're on Michigan's 37, and McCord drops back to throw low.
And once again, the defensive line intercepted. Man, I love Gus.
Just go nuts.
I love Gus Johnson so much.
He's the greatest broadcaster ever.
Probably, yeah. I mean, wow. What can you say about this play? So I know a lot of people are probably, why isn't this #1? And why is this an honorable mention? Honestly, because I don't know. It probably should have been number 2 of my top 5. Because it meant that they go to the Big Ten championship, and Ohio State was actually on the move here. But it's what I'm saying is it was so hard to pick. It was so hard to pick, and I think people will probably understand my #1 pick when you see it. But this one was huge. I mean, this was insane. McCord had already thrown an interception, so you weren't really sure if he was going to throw another one. He put up 274 yards of passing, so he was playing well. Ohio State had a chance to win this game, and in fact was driving and had time. And all they needed was would have been the extra point to win it, and Michigan would have been left without basically any time to try and come back and win it themselves. So a defensive stop was essentially mandatory for Michigan's season to continue into Indianapolis, and that's exactly what they got. I mean, the defense just comes up clutch again, and once again, it was because of Michigan's D-line getting pressure against Ohio State's offensive line, getting McCord into a bad spot and forcing him to make a bad throw, and Rod Moore is there for the interception. And I think that receiver is Marvin Harrison, and it honestly looked like he kind of gave up on the play a little bit. Whoever that receiver is, maybe it wasn't Marvin Harrison because I can't see very well.
Yeah, but the number ends in an 8.
Oh, 18? I think that's Marvin Harrison then. But I don't know. I mean, I'm not going to say that I'm not going to guarantee that he gave up on that play, but it just looked like he could have done a little bit more to maybe bat that one. I don't know. I mean, he's a phenomenal player, and he's going to have a very bright future in the NFL, but this was clutch by Michigan's defense.
Mac's pick for the best play of the season comes from, of course, the national championship. We are at 4:46 left in the fourth quarter. Michael Penix Jr. has taken a beating. He's a tough guy. He was playing injured through most of the game. Washington is on the move, 10 yards from the red zone, and all they need is a first down.
In the last video, I said that this was a 4th and 3. I was so wrong about that, so I'm glad they didn't run it. But, man, and the interception couldn't have come from a better player, or the most right player, speaking philosophically, or I don't know. That was, and honestly, to wrap up the game, to wrap up the national championship with an interception by Mike Sanristil is just everything for this defense. They deserved that. They deserved to go out like that. They deserved to, because Michigan is known for some incredible defenses, and Michigan's defense kept them in the Rose Bowl, kept them in the Ohio State game, kept them in the Penn State game, and Michigan's offense was able to find an extra gear to win those games. Michigan's defense was on a whole different level this year. I mean, it was elite from start to finish. And the fact that they sealed the Natty with an interception like this, an interception thrown because of the defensive line getting after Michael Penix. I mean, the defensive line was just terrorizing quarterbacks this season and terrorized Washington's offensive line basically all game long. And it was funny because you were on the edge of the seat, on your seat, basically all game long, knowing that Michael Penix was going to throw a long downfield pass at some point. And it kind of happened once, but it wasn't until after Michigan had gone up, I believe, by 2 scores here. And so it didn't really have that much of an impact. But to get to this point where it's 4th and 13, and then they throw the interception, was just, oh my gosh. I don't even know that I started jumping up and down. I think I just kind of took a deep breath and like cried a little. I don't know. It was just, man, what a play. And to wrap up the national championship with that, it was just incredible.
Yep. This is the one that was tipped also, wasn't it? Isn't that what's happening right there?
I don't think it was tipped. No, I think it was just a clean catch.
All right.
I mean, he threw it right to him.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It was fantastic.
Watch 37 here for Washington, though. That 37 was booking it.
Yeah.
I mean,
he didn't give
kept
up. That's nice.
No, he didn't. And that's awesome. And I mean, shout out to Washington because they had obviously an amazing season. And Kalen DeBoer is an incredible coach. And I'm so sorry you guys lost him to Alabama. That really sucks. But you guys had an epic season, and it was awesome to watch these two teams, non-SEC teams, play in the national title.
Yep. Thanks everybody for watching. Those are Mac's top plays for the season. Let us know what your top plays are, whether you agree with what Mac said. Let us know in the comments. Don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe. Mac, anything you want to add to that?
I'm honestly not sure if I agree with my own top 5.
That's fair. In that case, Mac, take us out.
This is Failure Chatter. No, this is Michigan Chatter on Big Ten Team Rivalry Show.